What's up YouTube, Saf here on Super Saf TV, and in this video I'm going to be comparing the specs of the HTC One Mini to the iPhone 5. Now the main reason for this comparison is the size. Whenever comparing the iPhone to any mainstream Android device such as the HTC One Original or the Samsung Galaxy S4, the problem is the devices are much larger, significantly larger than the iPhone 5, and that itself can be a deciding factor for many out there. So some of you may be considering going from an Apple device to an Android device, and that transition may be easier if the device is not significantly larger than the iPhone 5. So how different are these two devices? Which is better? Well, do hit that thumbs up button and let's find out in this head-to-head spec comparison. Now, although the HTC One Mini is supposed to be a smaller device, it is still larger than the iPhone 5. You're looking at roughly about 8mm in terms of height, around about 4.5mm in terms of width, and roughly about 1.5mm in terms of thickness. So the HTC One Mini, although it's a mini, it is still larger than the iPhone 5. However, as I did mention, it is not as big as some of the other devices out there. So it sort of comes in between. So it is a little bit more compact than the other Android competitive devices out there. Weight-wise, not a huge deal of difference. 122 grams versus 112 grams, so just 10 grams in it, so not a huge deal there. Now in terms of the screen size, you've got 4.3 inches on the HTC One Mini versus 4 inches on the iPhone 5. So although it is slightly larger, you are getting a larger screen on the HTC One Mini, and it should be more easier to use it with one hand compared to some of the other devices out there. Resolution, the HTC One Mini does come with a 720p HD display, 1280 by 720. The iPhone 5 comes with a 1136 pixels by 640 resolution. So in terms of the PPI, 341 ppi versus 326 ppi. So you've got a higher resolution screen on the HTC One Mini here as well. Not massively, but because it is 720p videos pixel for pixel are going to be looking better on the HTC One Mini. They're not going to have to be scaled down as with the iPhone 5. Now in terms of a build, both of these have an aluminium unibody design, which is absolutely great. You're going to be getting that premium feel on both of these devices, you know, compared to something plastic such as the Samsung Galaxy S4 or the Samsung Galaxy S4 Mini. If you're not somebody who likes plastic, then the aluminium unibody of both of these devices is going to be feeling very premium and very nice. Looking at the internals, you've got 1.4 GHz dual-core processor on the HTC One Mini. The iPhone 5, you've got the Apple A6 dual-core 1.2 GHz processor, so a slightly higher clock speed on the HTC One Mini. Performance wise, we'd have to see those side by side. Got 1 GB of RAM on both of these devices. Multitasking is going to be great on both of these. 1 GB is quite sufficient for some decent multitasking abilities. Internal memory, the HTC One Mini only comes in a 16 GB version. The iPhone 5 comes in 16, 32 and 64 GB versions. So you do have lots more options here with the iPhone 5. If you are somebody who has a lot of media and a lot of apps on your phone, then the 16 GB may be a little bit too less on the HTC One Mini. Neither of these have expandable storage either, so you are stuck with what you get. In terms of the rear facing cameras, the iPhone 5 has an 8 megapixel rear facing camera, whereas the HTC One Mini has a 4 megapixel ultra-pixel camera. Now this is the same from its bigger brother, the HTC One, and although it is smaller resolution, it is an ultra-pixel sensor, so you've got better low light performance. HTC say it captures 300% more light compared to other mobile phone cameras out there. So in terms of low light performance, you are going to be getting great results. But in terms of resolution, if resolution is your thing, if you do want to crop into your images later, then the iPhone 5 does have the advantage here. Both of these film 1080p from the rear facing cameras here, although the HTC One Mini does have HDR video as well. Front facing cameras, the iPhone 5 has a 1.2 megapixel front facing camera. The HTC One Mini has a 1.6 megapixel front facing camera. Both of these also film 720p HD, so you've got slightly higher megapixels in terms of the front facing camera on the HTC One Mini. In terms of the operating systems, the iPhone 5 comes with iOS 6, upgradable to 7 very soon, and the HTC One Mini comes with Android Jelly Bean 4.2.2, which is the latest version of Jelly Bean. However, it does have the HTC Sense UI skin on top of that. So now the advantage on iPhone here is you are going to be getting updates from Apple much quicker or much sooner compared to from HTC, because they will have to go through HTC first. You're not going to be getting them directly from Google on Android. But in terms of the operating systems, yes, both have advantages and disadvantages. I'm not going to go into them in this video. Now, in terms of other features, I do have to mention that the HTC One Mini does come with Beats Audio, as well as HTC Boom Sound, the dual frontal speakers with the amplifier. Great sound on this device. The iPhone 5 has the speaker grill on the bottom of the device, so because the HTC One Mini has front-facing speakers, they are going to be sounding much better on here. Battery, the HTC One Mini has an 1800 milliamp battery, whereas the iPhone 5 has a 1440 milliamp battery. So you've got a larger capacity battery here on the HTC One Mini as well. Performance-wise, we'd have to see these hands-on side by side, but in terms of milliamps, the HTC One Mini does have a high capacity battery. Finally, looking at price, the iPhone 5, you're looking at £529 here in the UK or $649 in the US. Now, it is an old device, yes, so when the next version of the iPhone comes out, it will probably be dropping in price. You're looking at roughly, about £449 in the UK after the next version of the iPhone releases. The HTC One Mini, you're going to be looking at roughly between £350 to £400 here in the UK, or roughly about $450 to $500 in the US. Now, this is talking about the handset only 16GB version. So the HTC One Mini definitely much cheaper than the iPhone 5, even though the iPhone 5 is an older device. So those were the key differences between these two devices. Now, as I said before, if you are somebody who wants to come over from Apple onto Android, then I believe the HTC One Mini is a great option. You've got that aluminium body, which is similar to the iPhone 5, so that premium feel will be there, and it's also slightly smaller compared to some of the other larger devices such as the Samsung Galaxy S4 on the original HTC One. So it's not going to be a massive changeover in terms of size, so a great option there. So what are your views on the HTC One Mini? Would you go for the HTC One Mini, or do you think iPhone 5 is still the best option to go for right now? Do drop me a comment below and let me know your thoughts. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you did, as always, please do hit that thumbs up button for me. It really does help me out. And why not subscribe to this channel? I've got plenty more videos coming up on here. Thanks for watching. This is Saf on Super Saf TV, and I'll see you next time.